Today we're going to be talking about our installation of the silo that is outside of our building currently. And it's been a really cool journey. It's been a long journey. Our first conversations about getting this thing were about, goodness, a year and a half ago. So, and really the decision to go through with it and get the silo is because of malt savings, but also at the same time, a big thing that's going to save us in the future for this coming year is everyone's dealing with supply chain issues. And America is going through a barley shortage. So when we fill this tank, we're going to be able to know that we're going to have malt to brew with. So, and we're not going to have to deal with as many delays and shipping. The nice thing about this is, one, we are going to be saving about 30 cents a pound on our base malt. So, which is an exorbitant amount when you're using about 100,000 pounds a year. You can do the math. That's real easy. So that's going to be a huge deal for us. And also the ease of use of the malt when we're milling it. We used to be using bags, and most everyone uses bags. And so we're not going to have as much waste. It's going to be a lot easier to prep for brewing days. And so there's a lot of really positive things that go into getting a silo. But like I said before, the preparations to actually install this and talking about it and getting it made and fabricated all started about a year and a half ago. And the company that we use to actually acquire all of this is a brokerage company out of Canada. And they do a lot of silo coaching and installations with our malt provider, which is out of Idaho. So it's been a really fun journey. It took us about a month to complete installation. It got here and set on the concrete pad that we had to pour before. And the concrete itself had to be prepared and engineered to a certain degree because this silo holds 64,000 pounds of malt if you fill it all the way up to the top. We're not going to necessarily fill it all the way up to the top every single time we use it. So yeah, so the concrete had to be to a certain PSI, and getting that poured and prepped, and then setting it in place. And then we went through the auger installation, which was really cool. It took us, we did it ourselves, but the system was designed by someone else, so we just had to put it in place. And it worked out great. So for those of you who do not know what an auger is, it's a coiled piece of steel that's within PVC pipe, and it moves grain from one place to another. So it pulls it away from its source and pushes it into where you want to use it. So hanging a 120-foot auger system, it's going up into the air all the way to the ceiling in our brewery and over 100 feet to our mill. So it took us, my stepdad and I installed it ourselves. So it took us, taking a couple hours here and a couple hours there, about a month to completely install. It is now completely calibrated to put in the exact amount of malt that we want each time that we use it into the mill. Getting a malt delivery for a silo is a lot different than a truck coming with bags, and you unload it with a forklift. So that's how you unload bags. But how it happens with the silos is a tanker will actually come with bulk malt to our parking lot, and they'll hook it up with a hose and they'll blow it in with air. So it blows in at about 4.5 psi, and it usually takes them about 2 to 3 hours to actually unload the entire tanker. And then once that's done, you've got your malt, and then you're free to use it. And so that's what we're looking forward to. It's going to hook up a hose to a fill tube on the side of the silo, and that is going to be filled from the tanker to the silo, and it's going to push it up to the top of the silo with air. So, and this style of silo is really neat because it's got smooth walls. It doesn't necessarily look like a corn silo that you would see out on a farm, and that's because we want to be really as delicate as we can with the malt that we're putting in there, because the more rough edges that you have, the malt's going to degrade, or dust is going to collect on those shelves. When you look at like a farm silo, it's got that corrugated metal, and that really beats up the malt. And that's fine with corn, and if you're feeding cows or chickens with it, that's great. And you don't have to be as delicate with that grain. But when we're brewing with it, we want that kernel to make it all the way to the mill in its full form. So we don't want it to get beat up at any point in time. So this is a completely sealed, completely painted inside silo with smooth walls and smooth welding points, so that it flows really smoothly all the way to the auger and to the mill.
First silo fill for Tulsa.